How did the decimal point develop? Imagine trying to do calculations with fractions and messy numbers. It was confusing and slow. Over time, people looked for a better way to write numbers clearly. That's where the decimal point comes in. Its story begins long ago, tied to the rise of the Hindu-Arabic numeral system. This system, which we still use today, introduced the idea of place value and the digit 0. These ideas made it easier to write big numbers and work with parts of numbers, like fractions. Ancient Chinese mathematicians around the 3rd century CE used decimal fractions for practical tasks like measuring land and astronomy. They used counting rods to show decimal parts, but it wasn't a symbol yet. In the Islamic world, mathematicians like Al-Khwarizmi in the 9th century wrote about fractions, but they used simple fractions with numerators and denominators, not a decimal point. Later, in the 10th century, Abu'l-Hasan al-Uqlidisi described positional decimal fractions, moving closer to what we recognize today. The modern decimal point as a symbol was first popularized in Europe by Simon Stevin in the late 1500s. He published a booklet called Die Tiende, which explained how to use decimals for easier calculations. Stevin's system used circles to show decimal parts, making it easier for people to understand and use. Soon after, in the late 1500s and early 1600s, mathematicians started using a dot or period to separate whole numbers from fractions. German mathematician Christopher Clavius used the decimal point in his astronomical tables in 1593. But recent research shows that Giovanni Bianchini, a Venetian mathematician, used a decimal point in the 1440s, about 150 years earlier. This shows that the decimal point was actually in use during the Middle Ages, not just the Renaissance. Scottish mathematician John Napier, who invented logarithms, also used the period to separate whole numbers from fractional parts in his logarithm tables published after his death in 1620. By then, the decimal point was becoming standard across Europe and the world. The decimal point made calculations much easier. It allowed people to work with fractions more quickly and accurately. This was a big step forward for science, engineering, trade, and everyday math. The development of the decimal point was part of the larger story of the Hindu-Arabic numeral system. This system changed how we think about numbers, making it possible to write and work with real numbers precisely. It helped turn simple counting into a powerful tool for understanding the world around us.